This time we're going to move on to the consent agenda items. We're looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items A and B, which includes minutes from last month and the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to ask item B on consent agenda items, number 4, payment of bills and reimbursements be pulled out.
Okay. Okay, so we have first and second, and minus item 4, or B, item 4. Dan, call roll, please.
Giorgio.
Yes.
Heine.
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Lambert.
Yes. Okay, is somebody looking for a motion to approve payments of bills and reimbursements for October?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
There are several items I'd like to ask questions about on the payments of bills for October. Do you want me to call them out, or how do you want?
What's the first one?
Okay, the first one is on this Ansel Blick Diamond Bush and Bay County for $2,400. At the last board meeting, I made a request for the memorandums, and we've all received copies of the bills, but there's no real memorandums or opinions. So I was wondering if we were going to get those so that we could see exactly what we're getting for this $2,400.
We don't get that. We got the bill, and that's what we get. You know, I contact them, they talk to me, they answer questions for me, but we don't get opinions written.
So no summaries, no,
No, ma'am.
they just bill and whatever conversations are.
We have the date and the time and the they have the date and the time, the conversation, what it's about, and they send us those, and those correspond with what we've done, and we pay the bill.
For $2,400.
And we don't typically have that. You're correct. We do, yes.
Because I remember last year, like, when there was a significant time spent on the elimination of school buses, and I know that that's a dead issue, but there was a memorandum, and that was about $1,000, but this is $2,400, and there's
A
several
lot of phone calls
conversations.
and a lot of time.
Okay.
We don't specifically with the FOIA stuff, do you?
Well, there should be some written correspondence pertaining to that as well.
And I could get that, and it would just cost more money. And so the sense I have is we have a reasonable relationship with them. If that's the times that I was on the phone with them and we've had the conversations, then I don't request that.
So the community doesn't deserve to know exactly what was discussed?
I don't think, Dee, I think the community has the right to know what they're told. It says right in there. It says Giorgio, FOIAs, and it says exactly what we were doing. And I don't ask them to write any more. I mean, I don't think I need to spend more money to get the same information that we already have.
And
If the board asks me to do it, I'll surely do it.
well, I'd like to make a motion that we see exactly why we didn't spend that kind of money on FOIA requests that didn't ask for anything that was not open to public scrutiny.
You'll have to submit to me for the next meeting. We can't vote on it.
Okay, because I submitted it to you for this meeting, but did you not get that email?
We got, what you have was what the attorney sent. So it's the same thing I got. It's explaining line item by line item what the discussion was about, but no, it did not go into detail what they discussed.
So what exactly are you asking for me to request?
You can request a detailed, and then the board will have to vote on whether we want to pay for that to come from the attorneys.
All right, the second item is the AT&T mobility. There's a couple of questions. I know that we changed the Don Adams and Jim Deal over to Sprint, but I see a line item here for each of their cell phones for $43.45, and then I see another custodial cell phones for $58.19. So is this just, why are we?
We talked about it before, and if you call me before the board meeting, I can get you answers, but if you don't call me ahead of time, I don't know specifically the answer to that, and I can get you that answer, and I'll put it in the next Friday phone call. But I don't, I don't know specifically the answer to that, and I can get you that answer, and I'll put it in the next Friday phone call. But I don't, I don't know specifically the answer to that, and I can get you that answer, and I'll put it in the next Friday phone call. But I think both the phones are on AT&T. I don't think they're on Sprint. And I do think we switched over from probably Sprint to AT&T, and we got a better price on it, but I don't know specifically what those two bills are for.
So then I guess we pull out the Sprint phone bill and the AT&T cell phone bill for Jim Beal.
I don't know that the board will want to do that, but if the board wants to do that, we can, yes.
Third is the Illinois Association of School Boards, another $675 for policy reference education service subscription renewal. Do you know what that is?
Every year, we get policies from them, and the ability to have policies. They have a service that they provide, and then they send us out the changes that legally we're supposed to adopt in policy about 4 or 5 times a year, and they keep us up to date on what the current policies are.
Are those policies included in Illinois compiled statutes under the school code as well? Or? So
Policies and school code are very different. School code is enforced through policies.
So the Illinois Association of School Boards is the official state of Illinois governing policy maker?
No, you can buy it from other companies, but what they do is because they're the school board and they know it's a service that schools want, they provide policies for schools. I'm not sure of the name of other companies, but typically there are other companies that do the same kind of service. They're just looking at the laws and writing and changing policies.
I would question us spending any money on the IASP once again. Some of the people that work for them are under investigation for pension fraud, so I would like to make that a matter of record that that organization has some questionable ethics. The Lake County New Sun, we get a subscription for both schools for $208 apiece.
I really don't know. I know I see it at the school here, and my guess is we get it at both schools. Yeah.
Rotary Club of Illinois Beach, $188 once again. Why are we paying for individuals rather than just the district?
They don't bill just the district, and Pat and I are both members, and historically we pay for both members.
I have a question. Is that a classroom?
They put those in the classrooms, the new
And
stuff?
that's what I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
It's one subscription to the building. So, I mean, there's a variety of people that use it on a daily basis, but it's
Keep
not,
current with
it
what's
doesn't
going on.
necessarily go to every classroom or every page.
But it can be incorporated into school curriculum, so that makes sense. All right, those are the things that I would object to, with the exception of the New Sun subscription.
We have a motion to approve, so, name roll.
Heine,
Yes.
Leach,
Approving paying all the bills, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Georgia.
No.
Next information items. For principals update, anything?
Throw it all in there.
Okay, good. Can think that? And Dan, we have a presentation from you on first quarter financial.
Yeah, sure. For the past couple of years now, I've kind of done like a quarterly review to give you guys an idea of where we are. You get obviously all the financial statements every month, but there's a lot of numbers on those pages, and does that mean are we doing well, are we not doing well, what does that mean? So what I've been doing is kind of putting together for you a snapshot of a little bit how we're doing. I kind of keep adding more stuff and changing it a little bit as the quarters go, but I try to keep the information there helpful and concise. So if I could just go through it pretty briefly, just to give you an idea of where we are. So if we're looking at revenues, it's the top left-hand side. You can see the 3 main sources of revenue we get is local, state, and federal. You can see our budget and how local revenues make up a vast majority of our budget, 87%. State is down to 9%, which is very below the state average. for how they fund schools. But if you look at our revenue so far, our locals, we've received, almost half, which is very typical for this time of year. We're right on schedule with our tax payments. The one thing that is very impressive, surprisingly impressive, is that we have gotten a lot of money from the state. You can see, if you look at the very last thing on the report, it says the state owes District 1, as of last Friday, $116,000, which is the lowest I've seen it in a good couple of years. Usually it's at least twice that much. So they are paying us more timely than they have. They're still behind, obviously paying us, but they're more timely than they have been in the past. So that is welcome to receive those revenues.
Does that number include from what they owe us from last year still?
That includes every penny they owe us as of Friday. I didn't check today, but. Then if you look at the federal, you can see we're only at about 22%. That's because a lot of the federal sources we get switched to a reimbursement process. So we have to wait for the quarter to get done, and then we request reimbursements from the state. Instead of them just giving us money quarterly or monthly, now we have to basically pay for it ourselves first, and then they reimburse us. A lot of districts, that could create a difficult financial cash flow situation. But fortunate for us, they don't give us a whole lot of money anyways, so it's not a big concern. So there's the revenue. Expenditures, overall, if you're thinking, where are we? If we're about a quarter of the way through the year, maybe our expenditures should be close to 25%. And as you can see, our total expenditures are around 21%. So we're pretty all right as far as that goes. One thing I wanted to point out to you is salaries. You can see that we've spent, and I bolded it for you, 26.99. And you say, well, that's over 25%. What are we doing here? Well, we are a quarter way through the year, but we've actually paid 7 out of 26 payrolls. So we had like 3 payrolls in July. And so that kind of front loads a lot of the payroll. Also, what we had is throughout the summer months, we had people that were either retired or laid off last year that still received checks up to the first pay in August. So that's why there's kind of a heavy payroll at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of why. But if you can see, the benchmark would be 26.92, and we're like 0.07% away from that, so that's very reasonable. You can see a couple of the other line items. Benefits is right on schedule. Purchase services, those are going to be spread throughout the year, so that's very reasonable. Capital outlay, you can see, is about 43% expended. That's because a lot of the stuff they do is one time a year they'll buy something, and so as soon as that gets bought, it just kind of stays there. You can see our other category is very low. That's mostly to do to our debt payment that we have to do, and you saw that massive bill. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it makes me nervous to make a bill for like, $500,000. That's a big check. But you'll see, next quarter you'll see that percentage is almost going to be 100% because we make our debt payment once a year. So that's kind of a snapshot of the expenditures. Now, looking at revenue, money we've gotten in this year versus money we come out, kind of a cash flow a little bit. Kathy was very astute to point out that there's an error there. You can see our actual revenues are 2.6 million. Our actual expenditures are 1.3, and the net of that is negative 196,000. That's not correct. For whatever reason, it just did not put the right number in there. The real number should be a positive, about 1.38 million, which is very good. So far this school year, this fiscal year, we've gotten $1.3 million more than what we spent, which is not bad. Looking at fund balance and cash, we can look at expenditures, look at revenues, but how much cash are we looking at? So I put the last 5 quarters in here, or the last 4, including this quarter in here, for you to kind of see. You can kind of see the trend, and I'm going to keep these in here. So as the quarters progress, you're going to see this pattern kind of repeat itself. But if you look at our fund balance and our cash, we're higher than where we were a year ago. You can see that. So that's always positive to be, considering last year we were looking at such a negative budget. But this is pretty positive. So everything kind of looks pretty good, but I said this last year, I'll say it again, first quarter is always the best quarter. So everything's going to look usually really nice around this quarter because we got a lot of money in. We haven't spent a whole lot of money yet. But it'll get worse as the year goes on, but I think we should stay pretty reasonable through the year. Third quarter, it's going to be the nastiest looking. Fourth quarter, we should level off. So just keep that in mind as cash flows go. And you can see there's the dip, where the lines get really down. That's third quarter last year. So third quarter is always kind of the nasty quarter. So there's a snapshot of what our financial picture looks like right now. If you have questions, I'll entertain them, but if I don't have the answer now, I can get back to you. So there you go.
item is the establishing of a committee to meet for the purpose of new evaluation process that the state's mandated, correct? What we're going to do is I'm going to appoint Dennis to do a superintendent's committee, which they'll pick people from the school and administration and from the union.
The union will
Select theirs, and they'll sit down and go over this. Do you want to talk about what the evaluation process is?
It's really not the whole evaluation process. They've got a couple of pieces dealing with evaluation, and it really is dealing with last in, first out, some of the changes in how people would be laid off, the potential changes. And so we have to do some selecting in there. And the union, equal number of union and administrative people meet, discuss it, want to make changes, and we vote to do it, and the majority of the votes go one way or another. You can. If you can't come to agreement, then what ends up happening is you stay with the state's proposal. So we'll end up with a group from teachers, and Michelle has talked to me about it already, and we'll end up with, you appoint me, and then we'll get somebody in and meet with them, and it's supposed to be done prior to December 1st. Yep.
Next items are board policies. Go over the changes on the policies. Sure.
Again, the majority of the changes in policies are because, one, we don't have that policy, or two, just changes in the law. So the first policy, 5285, refers to the program shall comply with the requirements of federal laws, but they changed it, and then they show us the, down at the bottom, the reasons for the law and the change. And so that's the extent of that one, right? The next one is educational support personnel, and I believe we didn't have that policy, and that's why we have it in, and so there's no changes marked, but it's because it's all different. The same thing for the one on instruction. Then curriculum and development under instruction, single gender classes, and so they allow for that. Don't encourage it or discourage it, they allow for it as long as we meet a number of criteria when we do it, and we monitor that regularly by testing the students to determine if it's being successful or not. So they have that language in for us as well. And professional personnel, I believe, is a different policy.
Yes, that's for action.
Okay, good. That's the new one.
And this is everything that comes out of the press from IAS.
That's
What you were asking about.
Yep.
This is what we get for that. Is them going through and saying there's been changes in whether it's federal or state laws, and our policies need to reflect that for us to remain legal. So they send those policies to us with suggestions. We can fine tune them to an extent to meet our needs, but they pretty much make sure that you're legal on all your policies.
I wonder why don't they include that with their dues? I mean, we're already paying them, you know.
It's a different service.
Because you can go outside of them and get them from somebody else.
It's a different service. It's not a...
Being with the dues with IASB would obviously be much higher if that was part of our dues. So they're saying, we're not going to make you use press, but you can still be a member. So that's why it's not included.
May I ask a question? Just how much are we making it to our district? Do we make many changes to what's coming in?
5%, very little, Chris. We make some changes, but not a bunch. No.
What we're usually good for.
And there's a second piece, Chris, that we do probably more of, and it'll be in the bottom in the footnotes, and they'll give you a couple of different options, and potentially the option they give us isn't, the first option isn't the one we want, it's like 2 or 3 down. So probably 20% we end up making those changes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
This goes back to the instruction portion and page 2 of the item 620. They've got in red that they're adding a day of remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade on March 25th. Now, is this just recognition, or are they suggesting that we have another day off throughout the year? Or what
They're not.
It's just a kind of
Yep, and that's in the
celebration?
footnotes, so it's not in the policy.
Okay.
Okay? So it's just there for you. And again, what Chris was asking, we're likely at some points, if we think something they're doing is real relevant, to look down at those footnotes and then make a change in the policy and or how we adopt it if it's very relevant to us, where this was just something that was in there.
One more comment on the footnotes is item 5 on the footnotes is a school day must consist of a minimum of 5 clock hours under the direct supervision of a teacher or a non-teaching volunteer providing non-teaching supervisory duties and as specified in 105 Illinois compiled statutes. A few meetings back, we had people in the community that asked if we would consider a longer school day. Is that something that we're going to kind of maybe table, or is this ever going to be discussed? Or?
Oh, discussion on the
On extending the
changing
clock
the time.
hours, yeah.
It's at some point, my guess is this winter, we'll end up with a board planning session. And at the board planning session, the board quite often will come up with ideas they want the administrators to look into and try to do. And so that would be a place that it would come up if it came through that, and the board said, we would like you to look into that, that's when it would be done.
And is the board, is it going to be an entire board planning session, or is it going to be a committee that's
No, it's
appointed?
the entire board.
Okay.
Just like the last time we had ISD, and it was the entire board.
Okay.
Okay, action items. Board policies. Does anybody have a problem with them all together? Okay, board policies 5250, 5260, 5270, 5280. You're looking for a motion to approve all 4 board policies.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Okay, you can vote. It's
Leach,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Lambert,
yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Heine.
Yes.
And the superintendent's report.
Drug-free Monday, just we encourage people to look at the idea of where I read today and then this week even. Legal bills, and what had happened is we got a summary last time, so we didn't really have the complete billing cycle. So this year, this month, when they sent us the complete set of bills more thorough, we included those in so that people had really the more accurate. We called them before the last board meeting and said, can you get us where we were? And they gave Dan some numbers, we included that for you. And this month we included the actual ones. A letter from a community member, included as a letter we received from a member of the community this week that requested it be sent to all board members and is included. Special meeting for interviewing superintendent search committee. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, the personnel committee met last week about the search for a new superintendent. There are a couple of different, there's quite a few actually, different search companies out there that will do a lot of the groundwork for us. Background screenings, soliciting, helping us write what we want, talking to the community, all of those type of things. We have used EdExec in the past and had good luck with them, from what I hear. And ISB has announced that they have a similar type thing. So what we want to do is we want to bring both of them in on a special board meeting, let them present to us their 2 packages, and then we as a board will decide who we want to use for this. So they gave me a few dates. Basically the 7th and the 14th seem to be the 2 dates that lined up really well. They have both of them come in at the same time. So if I could just kind of get out of everybody, I hate to put you on the spot, but what date works best for you, and then the other one will be an alternative. For some reason they got booked already. So Jim, do you have a preference? 7th and 14th?
Do we have any negotiation date after?
The negotiations, the one we have is next.
Do we have one after that?
Nope, we don't have one scheduled after that.
We're going to be done then.
We have one next month.
I'm good with the 7th.
Okay.
Either one.
Get
Either one.
either one?
Or prefer the 14th.
14th. Chris?
I have both open.
Open. 14th. Okay, so it looks like it'll be the 14th because we worked on 14th. Everybody else is kind of open.
May I make a suggestion? Can we have 3 to choose from instead of just two?
These are probably the two most popular ones.
Okay.
And the main reason is it seems to me like Ed Exec offers quite a
A
bit,
lot more.
but I don't know where we're going to come in on price and what exactly is offered, because we don't know a lot about what ASB does. So I'll let them come in and both present to us what they do. In here also is both sides have given us questions. Basically, they're obviously questions to make them what's strong on what they do, but obviously you want to answer both sides the same questions. So what we'll do is pick a couple of questions that you would like to ask. We'll go through everybody first at least once, give everybody a chance to ask one question, and then it'll kind of be open from there as far as other questions to be asked.
Are we most likely looking at a 7 o'clock start time?
Yeah, 7 o'clock, because they're guessing only about a half an hour each for the presentation, so. And then everything, from there on out is going to be decided as the board, the interviews, direction, and everything else like that. The committee met more or less just to get a flavor for what we want to do, how we want to approach it, which companies to kind of choose from, and then everything else we'll be doing as a board. That's it.
Lions legislative report, text information and text information.
That's it, and the request for closed session. So you're looking for a motion to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district.
I'll second.
Call roll, please, Dan.
Your discussion? I'm just wondering if there's any specific reason or confidential information why we have to go into closed session other than the fact that we're allowed to under the statute?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
If it wasn't something that needed to go in, I wouldn't go in for it, so. Yep. Yeah.
Thompson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Lambert,
Yes.
Giorgio,
Yes.
Heine,
Yes.
Leach.
Yes.
We're gonna,
I know it's a little late to ask, but you had said in your Friday phone call that the letter submitted. Why is that being not being reviewed with the public? Is that something that we're not privy to?
it was addressed to the board members, and I just don't feel that it's probably the right thing to read in a public setting. We're gonna be going into closed session. We have no idea how long we're gonna be in here. You're welcome to stay and wait for us to come out. We will not be voting on anything after that. This is just a discussion, so there won't be any votes taken after that. Other than adjournment. We have one vote left, and that'll be adjournment. But other than that, there won't be any other action taken, so it's up to you guys if you want to stick around